Hello and welcome to a very new show this very new year, as a matter of fact. The most sincere, happiest of New Year's to you if you celebrated the New Year change. So yes, hopefully yours has already been exciting. I know mine certainly has. And let me tell you, the DungeonFog team, I don't think they actually took a break, because we've got lined up for you tonight some absolutely phenomenal things. So hopefully you can hear me and see me. We're in a new setup. You may already have noticed that from the opening of the show. We've got lots of fancy technical layouts, but it is me, so you will have to bear with me as we try and work through this. I think we've got about 20 different setups for you. I'm actually lying, it's more like 10, but it feels like 20. Anyway, tonight the show is in two parts. We are looking at behind the scenes of the Battlemap maker from DungeonFog, and then we're going to look at behind the scenes, the mapping it out for DEIOS. So if you are a user of either, stay with us. If you are a user of neither, welcome to the show, and hopefully by the end of it you'll be a user of both. And if you're a user of either one but not both of them, well, maybe you might change your mind and start using both in the end anyway. I know I certainly do. I use both of them. I do actually use both of them. I've been using the alpha of DEIOS now for a little bit, and that's been quite exciting too. So it is a show where it is all about you interacting with the DungeonFog team. I've got Till here tonight with me, so if you have a question for Till, please put the word question in caps in front of it, so that I can see it, and then I will read it out to Till. And we'll ask those questions generally at the end of each session, or of each segment, which you'll see we've now got segments to help break things up. And if you're watching this post the live show, the video is available in two separate pieces, one for Battlemaps and one for DEIOS, so you don't have to watch the whole thing if you're interested in either one of those specific topics. Okay, my goodness. Right, enough of that. Let's get on with the show. So, Till, welcome to the show.
Hello and welcome. Hi. Wow. New year, new layout, new format. I'm excited. I'm so thrilled. I can't wait to get this rolling.
And hopefully they heard you.
Hopefully they heard me. Well,
yes.
I'm pretty sure they did.
I've got so many things going on here. All right, yes, they did. My goodness. Right, so there are already some questions that have come in, which is fantastic. That's really good to see, and they can hear us, which is even better. So thank you for that feedback. Till, there is so much going on, we're talking about both pieces of software tonight.
Yes.
Why is that?
Okay, so first of all, I've realized that we last year we had the weekly community streams, and it was, I think it is a better format to condense all those news in a monthly stream where we can go through everything that happens, because sometimes things takes longer than a week, and that means that on the weekly streams we often didn't have anything really new to report. So we said, why not use the mapping it out as a monthly news format, company-wide, basically, to talk about everything that has happened to the Battlemap editor, to the company, to DEIOS. So to give you a better, I would say, more action-packed format of things that have happened.
And I think also it's because there is a lot of interconnectivity between the two. Something that gets developed for DEIOS gets translated into Battlemaps, or Battlemaps and it gets translated into DEIOS. We've already seen that starting to come through already. So I think that's going to be really valuable and really useful. What do you folks think? Is this something that excites you? Do you kind of, is it something that you're happy for? Hopefully the answer is yes, because we're here for you. Ultimately. So, I mean, Till and I can sit and chat all the time. Well, we do actually sit and chat all the time. But anyway. Yeah. All right. So, in general, when we talk about the company of DungeonFog, what is the latest news, Till?
So, the latest news is that we have a new team member joining us in January. So, Ferret has already joined, and Ferret is our new backend developer that is joining Jonas. So if you flip the slide once more.
We have a picture of him. There's a story behind that picture.
Well, yes. So this is Ferit. Say hi to Ferit. He joined the team in January. We actually, well, the picture indicates how we got him. We basically drove a black van down the street and picked a random person and just hijacked that person. And that is the picture that we took while dragging him into the van. Well, Ferit is actually a very skilled and talented backend developer who is now learning his ways into Rust development and Ember development, and he's going to join Jonas and Moritz on developing the FogMS, the content management system behind DungeonFog. He's also going to assist later this year. He's going to assist Andy with developing additional features for GM nodes. We hope that this is going to happen this year. And he's going to find his ways into QA testing, so we have an additional tester for all the features that we hand out. So in general, he's on the next slide. You can see the team and the team setup, and you can see that he is now joining mainly our forces in the FogMS development, where we have now kind of several different units developing parallel to each other. So there's the FogMS development, then we have a team Battlemap development. You all know the people behind that, which is Andy, our lead developer, Tony, graphic design, and Larsus, who's doing QA testing and support. DEIOS team, you've met Nikita in our last Mapping It Out stream. I think it was the last one.
Yeah.
Ilya, Andre, and Sasha. Then Bodhi, Nicole we've already introduced Nicole last year, but she is joining our team on more hours per week to bolster our marketing unit. And web service, Thomas and Herbert are the ones who are working on the databases and the website. And then, of course, we have our amazing community moderators, Forecaster, Damien, Chris, and Sparks, who are mainly doing Discord moderation. So if you ever have a question on Discord, they will be there to answer.
There are, absolutely. Okay, phenomenal. Now, you mentioned FogMS.
Yeah.
Is this another DungeonFog product? Or what's FogMS?
Kinda is, but it is not a public thing. FogMS is, if you switch the slide, I can explain it a little bit, is usually it's called a content management system or a content management service that allows you to fiddle around, do user management, map management, campaign management, and all that stuff that we need to control everything. We've named it FogMS to be our fog management services, and it is the backbone of everything that we're doing or everything that you are doing. So storing maps, storing and assigning them to users. If you share or clone a map, what happens then? And you have already recognized first implementations of that last year when we have introduced FogMS with the asset service. However, as you can see, there are several other services that need to be implemented, and many of them cannot be implemented sequentially, but all together. Like users and map management are so intertwined that we have to develop both of them at the same time and release them at the same time, that this is probably, well, most likely a task that even two people will be working on for the rest of the year. And that's why we said, okay, we definitely need someone who can join Jonas in development, because he did an amazing job with the FogMS asset service last year. But it was a lot of work for him. And I think having two people work on that is kind of, with the redundancies and people helping each other, I think is a great opportunity to, yeah, enhance that service.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, is that all the news for the whole team at the moment? I think so.
Yes, yeah. I think from a company perspective, apart from the fact that we're changing our stream schedule, which means that for now there is going to be in regards to DungeonFog news, only the last Tuesday each month, mapping it out with all the news. And then we're currently still working on bringing in the Welcome to the Madness streams every second week, probably, where we just hang out and do map making together.
Okay, so there were two things that you raised. Yes, we will be doing it monthly, and we will be doing it on the last Tuesday of every month, except for next month.
You're right, because next month is a special occasion. You want to talk about it?
That's right, yeah. So just in case you don't get us at the end of the stream, next month we'll be doing a special live show on the Monday. Last Monday of the month. On that Monday, we'll be doing a special live show from Till's Dungeon. Yes, so we'll get to see what goes on in an actual game. So that's going to be, I think, very exciting. You'll see how everything gets involved and gets included, and basically the origins of this whole endeavor. So look out for that. So that's next week. Next month, Monday.
How are you going to moderate that from the UK?
Yes, I've actually been invited to Vienna, so we will be all sitting in Vienna with masks and triple vaccinations and all that wonderful stuff having gone on. But we will be there, and we'll do the show live from that, so it should be fun. I'll get to look at and show you all of the things that Till has in his role-playing dungeon. So there we are. Now, the other thing that you raised, which has gone out of my head, is that there's a question that we need to talk about, because it talks about Fog MS. The question is from Damien, the DM, and Damien says, you mention, with Fog MS, you mentioned map sharing. Does this mean better collaboration features will be possible with it?
No, not in the near future, because right now we have our databases, our content management system, the way that we've structured our content is getting outdated. So our core focus is to shift those databases and give us administrational access and management rights to those levels in a new system that allows us to make this system shareable through CDNs. So basically, what you're going to experience, hopefully apart from nervous breakdowns because we have to reconnect everything, what you're going to experience is much faster loading times. But when it comes to collaboration and better collaboration features, it kind of lays a groundwork for that, but it is not on our immediate schedule at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. Let's get on with some Battlemap news. I'm very excited for this news. Oh yeah, sound effects. There we go. It's what happens when you make animations that don't have any sound. You suddenly get impromptu sound effects. So
yes,
I think that's going to be a feature moving forward.
I will make up new sounds every time it comes.
Rate our sound effects. There you go. My goodness. Right. So I see that we've actually got that screen saying Battlemaps up already. We weren't supposed to have that there yet.
Well,
but
yes.
Anyway, it's there now. So
there it is.
Right. So Battlemaps. Lots of stuff happened. Till, give us a what's going on.
Wow. Okay. I think if you switch the slide, I can make it even easier to explain.
Yes.
This is not only our goals for Q1. Well, basically they are our goals because we want to have it finished in Q1. But it is what we are currently working on. So you all know from last year's community streams that we've been talking about paths a lot. So the paths tool is, as you can see in the bars, those should be like representation of where are we in development. We're going to see a demo today, and there's still things that need to be fixed, but we are quite confident that we can finish the paths in February, which means probably mid to end February. And then we will transition into a big package that will eat most of the time until the end of Q1, which is the marketplace. Marketplace is already in beta 2. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. But there should be, it's kind of intertwined again, there should be a new asset library for you that makes management much easier for asset management. And then there's something completely new, and that's the community hub that we're also going to have a look at in a minute. So all of that is currently going on. And I would say the general roadmap for this year is, or the motto, if we have a motto, is make existing stuff easier to use, easier to comprehend, and easier to access. And below that, we're going to see there's an estimated roadmap for this year. We are going to work heavily on the integration of the Battlemap editor into DEIOS.
Okay, let's start unpacking all of that stuff, because that's all really exciting.
Yeah,
let's
keep the path demo until the end, and let's look at
let's look at the marketplace. Let's look at the marketplace, because there's some interesting things that are happening in that marketplace. Talk to us about the marketplace.
Okay. So for the marketplace, we have been working for quite some time on a new feature that has been silently released already, which is the Patreon integration. So what that means is, apart from the fact that artists can already access our FogMS and upload their own settings and packs and assets and set them up, they can also define whether or not a pack is free accessible for someone who is following them or supporting them through Patreon. So currently we have Forgotten Adventures, Keora, and Chibin Grove, who are artists in the DungeonFog marketplace, and all of them have already set up asset packs that are free accessible for Patreon followers. So basically what that means is, if you are following Forgotten Adventures or Keora or Chibin Grove through their Patreon, and you're a DungeonFog premium user, then you get all the assets for free. Basically, they're already available in the store. If not, they have a price tag and you can still purchase those assets. And we already know that Devin Rue is going to join us, and there are two other artists, which I cannot announce yet, who are going to join us eventually. However, with, for example, Forgotten Adventures, who were flooding our marketplace with almost 10,000 new assets, which is absolutely insane.
I mean, that's almost as many as you already have.
Yes. Also, Keora, I think the latest pack that Keora added has 600 assets. So there's a giant flood of assets rolling into the asset library. And if you're a Patreon to those artists, you suddenly gain instant access to that, which actually showed us that our system is not prepared for that currently. So that's why we said we need to continue our beta, and we're calling it a beta 2, where we need more testing, more thorough fine-tuning and engineering around the way that we distribute assets. However, the second we talk about the distribution of assets, which means the way that you can access your assets, we're suddenly talking about the asset library revamp that we wanted to do anyways. And now you can see how those two things suddenly begin to grow together and intertwine. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to test and see how our services distribute assets. We're going to fine-tune and tweak that. And then we start to improve on those learnings and build the new asset library. And once that is done, we can then call the beta 2 finished, and we will officially launch and release the marketplace, which just means that we are confident that there's nothing breaking terribly when more artists are going to join.
As Forecaster 71 has pointed out, you had an asset avalanche of things.
The asset avalanche.
Now, just with regards to that whole side of things, are we going to see community maps, or when you share maps publicly, those assets obviously will get grayed out as current assets do. Are we going to see sort of categories now happening there as well, where maps are now tagged, this contains this content pack, and you have to buy this content pack to use
exactly.
it?
That is in the community hub part of the integration, because we've been looking. So when we did the last count, we were over 11,000 maps in the public library, and our public library is basically a button that brings you to the public library page and then a search field. So it's a really rough go for a way to bring all this amazing content to you. It's really that's not a good approach. So we said, okay, we need to rework that. We need to rethink that concept. And by doing so, we also need to rethink the way that you as a map creator can present maps. And again, you as someone who might want to take one of those presented maps, you should get additional information of what asset packs have been used in this, and what might be required from you to really get full access to those maps. And that is part of the community hub rework.
Lots to do there. Now, will we see a similar model roll out for DEIOS?
Eventually, yes.
Absolutely makes sense. Till there was a hotfix that released recently. What did that? And by recently, I mean half an hour before my game, and suddenly everything stopped working. But I mean that's one user out of hundreds of thousands. So what was the hotfix all about?
It was actually about fixing loading times for this silent release of the Patreon integration. The second we turned it on, ideally it should have automatically optimized and improved the way that assets are being loaded. Unfortunately, it meant that we had some caching issues, and you have to hard refresh your cache on the editor, otherwise you get an error message. We've updated our error screen so that you're notified to do that, and the first wave of panicked users died down. I'm sorry, that wasn't intended to work that way. We've been testing it on the test server. It worked absolutely fine, and we hit the live button, and we actually had a discussion about whether or not we should do a little patch announcement. But since it worked so flawlessly, and it's in our testing seemed to not affect anyone, we didn't do even an announcement. We just flipped the switch, and then we realized that that was not a good idea. So we quickly fixed that and brought it back. However, again, I'm sorry for the confusion if some of you open your map and realize that you get an error screen and you're like, oh my god, what should I do? Yeah.
No, perfect.
The joy of hotfixes.
Absolutely. And the irony is that my players didn't even use the map that I built for them. So it's fine. So Till, when it comes to bugs and that sort of thing, how do people report a bug in Battle... Look at me now, getting thrown all over the place. In the Battlemap editor, how do they report bugs at the moment?
Thankfully, 90% report the bug through the bug report tool, which is a little bug icon at the top right bar of the editor that you can click, and you get an interface that asks you for additional information, and then you can submit it, and we receive it in our ticket system, which means that Larsis is then reviewing your bug, is trying to reproduce it, probably reach out to you and ask questions if he can't reproduce it or he doesn't know what you actually were trying to tell us. And then we sometimes receive them through the weirdest places, like in YouTube comments and or Twitter replies that we then have to kind of collect and put in our ticket system as well. So if you want to do us a favor, please use the report a bug thing on our website, because that's where it gets collected and kind of brought into the right channels. Also, it's great if you report them on Discord, because there you can interactively chat with one of us. But don't be disappointed if at the end of the conversation someone tells you, okay, great, got you. Can you please report the bug now? Because it again brings everything into the right channel and the right streamline for us to then actually fix that bug.
There we go. I do like Forecaster's comment, always be as vague as possible when reporting bugs. Because it does ask you what were you doing at the time of the bug. So more specific, I think, is always better. Till, when it comes to adding offerings and all that kind of stuff, we've got paths to talk about. We're going to do a demo of paths, but we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to talk about the community hub because there's something.
Yes,
there's more to the community hub. As someone in the comments said, it's not just about making maps.
No, it's not just about
so much more.
I've brought a few screens that we can quickly flip through. So I've brought a little preview of what the new asset library, like the asset picker, might look like.
Right.
And to give you a better understanding, for those of you who are using DEIOS and who are in the DEIOS Alpha, it's a very similar approach to what we're doing in DEIOS. Now we're refining it a little bit for DungeonFog, and then we will be refining it back for DEIOS. You've killed the background screen, so we don't see anything anymore.
I was just trying to find the right slide.
And that's the community hub. Can you go back 1 or 2 slides? There you go. Stop it there. No, now you need...
there. Sorry. Yes. Okay.
So that's the asset library rework. And again, this is just a mock-up that we use for internal concept. The idea behind that is that you have a new window. Instead of this site list that we have, you have a new window that offers much more search and filter options. Ideally, that is one of our goals, and we really hope that we can make it work. That window is extendable onto a new screen. So you can take your whole library, if you're using on a two monitor layout on your PC setup, you can take the asset library, extend it on a second screen, and have it open while you're working on the map. So that is one of the things that we want to do with that. We're also going to unify the asset manager into this interface, which means we're going to make it much easier for you to create a new pack, upload your props directly into that window, then tag them or change colors, adjust the settings. So all we're doing right now in a separate window that we call the asset manager should be ideally brought into this. There's going to be the marketplace and Patreon integration, so you're going to see all the asset packs that are available that you probably don't have yet, but could get. And yeah, advanced tagging and more stuff to come. So once the path tool is finished and deployed in its first pass, we will shift, or Andy specifically, will shift his attention to the asset library rework.
Now, a question that popped into my mind straight away, as well as into Lesmond de Leoncourt's mind, is will users be able to custom create tags for assets, or are they all just going to be preset?
So ideally, yes. Not sure if we're going to do it in the first pass release, but ideally you should be able to create your own custom tags for those assets so that you can organize everything in the way that your brain works.
Fantastic. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, shall we move on?
Yes, now we can move on to the Community Hub, because the Community Hub, again, is a completely new approach to how you interact with other map creators. There's going to be something like a landing page, a dashboard, that will pick maps based on your preferences, which means that there is going to be a little wizard that asks you, what maps do you like? What preferences do you have? And we can start to build a little logic behind that picks the text that you most often like when you like other people's maps, the search text that you've been using. So we can learn a little bit about the way that we are looking for maps, and then we can use that information to present those maps to you automatically. If you switch to the next slide, you will see that we will have categories. Sorry, my bad. This is a completely different section. This is...
No?
No. Stay there, that's fine.
Okay.
Stay there, that's fine. This section is actually, I think, quite exciting because it means that you as a creator can make your own little map space instead of MySpace, map space. I don't know how we're going to call it. Fogbook. You can create.
I think we'll leave naming of things to other people, Till, if you don't mind. It's nothing personal.
Well, maybe the community can come up with great names for that. The general idea behind that is you can create your own landing page and you can customize it to some extent. We're creating a unique URL, like a vanity URL for you, so you can share that around and show it around. And people can find you as a map creator, where you can present the latest maps that you've created or your favorites. If you are an artist to DungeonFog, you can also share the latest map packs that asset packs that you're selling. You can add a little description about yourself, and other people can follow you, which means that they get notified when you release a new map. So that's why we're calling it a community hub, where it kind of elevates you to a true creator status where you can create maps, but it also allows you to create a community around the maps that you're creating, and follow other creators to see what they're doing, which means at the end, we hope, our vision is that this will be a thriving place for map creators to share, see what others are doing, and interact.
Okay.
And that's basically the last slide when you go to the next one, which shows that on the dashboard you can that one you can see the latest maps that the creators you're following have shared. You can see the creators and new creators joining that space. So that's the concept behind that, and I'm really excited for this. I can't wait to see it in action. We've already started working on it, and let's say the framework and the prototypes are already in place. Now we just need to finish everything up, and hopefully by the end of March we will have that ready. And if my perfect plan fall in place, I can almost hear all the devs laughing. This happens similar or at the same time that the asset library is ready, and that the marketplace integrations are finished, and the brush tool is finished. So by the end of Q1, we hopefully have a giant release with new stuff and new features for you.
Awesome. Fingers crossed that it happens on such a short time frame. Lots of questions from the community. The Grey Council asks, are we or will we ever get the ability to place down individual standalone walls within rooms?
Yes. That is actually part of the final slide for the Battlemap stuff. And that is our Battlemap Goals 2022. So this is a very rough roadmap. I mean, we have learned our lessons. We know that we're not even calling it roadmap anymore. We're calling it our goals, the goals that we set for ourselves.
That's good. Goals are good.
Q1 is already booked. We know what we need to do in Q1. In Q2 to Q4, we will then tackle the leftovers from our past roadmaps, which is advanced path management. There you go, updated room drawing, which means you can then draw standalone walls, which you kind of already can do with the paths tool. We will update doors and windows so that they're finally scalable. We will update the light mechanics to some extent. And Andy will be working heavily on the V6 renderer, which is necessary for our DEIOS integration, which is also necessary for server rendering maps, and which will finally have multi-select in it. And the rest of the year, we will then work on, or parallel to whatever is happening, simplify the experience with a new UI, beginner and advanced workflows, as well as onboarding, guides and tutorials, as well as some interesting blog posts that we will create.
Indeed, there's more to the Viennese trip than just looking at Till's dungeon. So, on to some suggestions here, and I think we should actually take away the naming rights from the community as well. I think someone needs to be hired to come up with a name. We've got things like Fogma as a suggestion for the community page. Lighthouse, Foghorn, Fog Cloud, Fog Keeper, DEIOS Designs, Mapstagram.
Mapstagram. Oh my god, they're really good.
No.
Oh,
Fog Graters. I'm not sure about that. So anyway, there we are. Those are some of the suggestions that we've had. I'm just looking for some questions here. Please remember to put the word question in caps in front of your question if you want to get me to be able to see it. I'm looking at multiple screens here, folks. And if you have asked a question and I haven't asked it of Till, please ask it again. Just don't spam us. Just give me 5 minutes each time. There was something that came through that I wanted to ask. Does the personalized map page, the Foghorn page, the Lighthouse page, whatever we're going to call it, the page, would it allow any kind of communication with the community? So, for example, that the author might be able to put up a post or take requests and that sort of thing.
Not in the first pass release. We have been discussing a way of having a comment section or something like that, where you can post comments to the page and the artist can reply. Again, not in the first pass. Probably if we can do it, that's another thing that we want to investigate is if we can do something like creator channels on Discord. But you would definitely be able to add your own links. So if you have a Discord server or you want to set up a Discord server where people can chat with you, then you can link it on that creators page and people can then directly interact with you.
Yeah, makes sense. I think that's pretty cool. Till, I think it's time for us to do a demo. I mean, we've been talking for quite a bit, but then again, this is the first one of this year, so one can you know, forgive us for that. Shall we do the demo? This requires us to do a bit of a setup, so bear with us, folks.
Let's see what breaks.
Let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. There's another question here before we go. Lensman de Leoncourt asks, will the winter items from the holiday giveaway be made available in store, and if so, when?
Yes, yes, they will be. My apologies. I wanted to already add them to the store, but with everything going on at the moment, I didn't find the time. So let's put it within the next few days. They will be available in store.
Okay, interesting. And then Lord God says, Foggle maps. Just go Foggle your map.
Foggle your map.
Foggle your map. Let's make it a word. Okay, here we go. Let's go into the demo. Till, remember, you got to do your things.
Yes. You giving a countdown? No,
yeah, do it now.
I'm doing it now.
And I'm doing the sound effect. Whoosh, wee, bling, 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 bling. And we get the animation twice because I forgot to press the button. Oh, God. Wait a minute. This one has to be up. There we go.
Yes, there
I had to do something as well. I forgot to do something. That's my bad.
That's fine. We're doing a great job tonight.
We'll get there. We'll get there. All right, we're talking paths. Look at this. Look at this, everyone. Isn't this exciting? If you've ever battled with those track assets. Till, take it away.
Yes, I'm taking it away. So what you're looking at is the current test build of the paths integration. It is terribly broken on so many ends. That's why it's on a test server, but I still wanted to show you what you can already do with it. So here you can see that we have, let's redo that. Let's just quickly delete that and add another path. So you can create paths. The freehand is still quite broken at some points, so that is still looking a little bit weird, but you can also do it through point and click. And I think I need to press enter, yes. And then you can modify those things quite extensively. So I can add smoothness to it, and I can flip the texture, which is not really doing anything to those wagon tracks. But as you can see, I can also reshuffle them, which means that we're having several different variations of that path. And let me get rid of that one because it's ugly. And let's put you here. Oh, I can't move at the moment. So let's put you here. And let's make this. Can you remember? I think it was something like 140. Yes.
Yeah, 140.
Yes. So looking at a path, it is constructed out of several different images that are being randomly combined into your path, and it follows along the way that you draw it. Eventually, you should be able to edit the curve. You can flip textures. You will have transition endings, which are not implemented yet. But as you can see, we have done, let me zoom out here a little bit. I have a river here that is created out of the path. Let's get rid of that so we can see that river actually. Those are assets. And then I can go in and recreate that. Sorry, I need to go into the Paths tool. Bugging out on me. There you go. So I can then go and follow that river and create suddenly something like those rocky things, which I can then size up.
And it's also envisaged in the future they'll act just the same as a prop. Cast shadows, receive shadows.
Cast red, exactly.
Change color, etc.
Yep, absolutely. So change color is already halfway implemented, but there's a lot of stuff that we still need to do. However, because of that, we've been kind of thinking about other things, because now we're looking only at, let's call them overland battle maps and things that you can do overland. But there are actually things you can also do on a dungeon design level, which means for rooms you could have, here we see we have something. Let me zoom in there a little bit. I think it's much easier to perceive. We have bookcases that you can create. They are also reshuffled. They can reshuffle, so they change whatever you want to do with that. Carpets, you can finally draw long carpets. You don't have to tile them up anymore. And the same goes with, let me see. Oh no, I need to deselect that first. To tables, I have been experimenting with today with tables that already have seats. Let me quickly recolor them because they look terrible. And again, you can reshuffle. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do with that. And we need to finalize this, which means Andy has already told me that he would like to have at least another 3 to 4 weeks of cleaning up everything before we can release it to you. Doing the endings, adding all those features like drop shadow, receive light, stuff like that, before we can hand it to you, which also gives Tony more time to create more assets for the Paths tool. And also Forgotten Adventures. We know that Forgotten Adventures has a lot of Paths tools or path assets, so they can add them as well. But that's where we are at the moment. That's what's happening, and I'm pretty proud of it. I think it's going to be a major improvement when it comes to creating overland maps as well as decorating rooms quickly.
Absolutely. Now, I have a few questions on these. Now, most people are in chat are just absolutely blown away by this. Till we're all kind of saying, oh, this is going to save us so much time when we're trying to fill up rooms and to create libraries where we're not just repeating that same library prop time and time and time again. Do you envisage that future prop packs that drop will include a new path texture as part of the props sort of pack?
Yes. I actually had Tony over Christmas. He was coming for a visit here, and he brought, that was insane. He brought a printout of all asset packs that he did, which was, I think, 47 pages. And we went through all of them and marked every asset that is a fit for that. Which means that whenever we create an asset pack, we will now be looking at those assets and we will ask ourselves, does that make a good paths tool? And if the answer is yes, we have streamlined the way that Tony can produce those things, which means that he can easily convert that into a path asset. And we can hand that out together with the asset pack, including paths.
I do like that. Okay, and then will we get the opposite version where, say, for example, that red carpet, you would have that as a path texture, but we could also have it as a path, as a prop itself?
Actually, yes. I think if I remember correctly, then Andy has already told me that every asset that is uploaded as a path segment is automatically available as a prop as well. And when it comes to things like those books and scrolls, Tony can hand me those as separate decorational assets for a path as well, which means that you have the carpet tiles, you have the carpet endings, you have the book endings and the book tiles, as well as decorational objects. So I think you have everything you need to make those unique to your map.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Right, so speaking of making great maps, there's a new segment that we were introducing in tonight's show.
Yes,
and I think it's time that we go in there. Wait, before we go, we've got just a question that's just come through just this minute. Just hang on a second. We're handing over to questions. Lord God says, can the path tool composite within the length of a tile, truncate a tile, and allow a curve inside the length of a bookcase? Allow a curved single bookcase. Wait, what? Can the path tool composite within the length of a tile, truncate a tile, and allow a curve inside the length of, say, a bookcase? Allow a curved single bookcase.
Curved single. Well, we have a sample of that probably here. I'm not sure if that answers your question. The thing is, it's still a texture, right? It's a texture that gets warped around the corner. So there might be weird outcome. I can flip the texture so you can see how. Hey.
So could you do a really short path? I think this is what the question is. Could you do a really short path that has a slight curve to it?
Okay,
and so it's only one bookshelf long, not 3 bookshelves long.
Okay, got you. Okay, so let's do a bookcase. Let's see if we can do that. Let's do a really short, which would be this, right? So this is a single, yeah, stop it. This is a single bookcase, okay? Bookshelf. It is single, which means that I should be able to curve it, which I can't. So I can't, I'm not sure why. Either is it's technically not possible, or it's just in the implementation right now. I couldn't add a curve to that one. What I can do is, let me try that once more. I think it needs at least one corner point. So I could say from here to here. Let's do it like that. And now let's smoothen it up a little bit. So now you could create a curved bookcase if you want to do something like that.
And this is still work in progress. So
and it is still work in progress. Yes.
Yes.
But I think I think it's to what you can do with it at the end. I think it's going to be a really powerful tool.
Absolutely.
It was a lot, it was a big consumer of our time. So we initially estimated that it takes us 2 months to do it. Now Andy had to break off and do other stuff in between, but this paths tool is on Andy's table now for over 4 months already. So it is quite complicated to do things like that, which is why we are going to break it down into 2 different release builds. The first path release is going to be a very basic paths tool, which allows us to collect feedback and listen to what you want from us in terms of improvements. And then there's going to be a rework later down the road where we say, okay, now let's tackle the more complex things that didn't make it into the first pass implementation.
I think that makes absolute sense. A few questions which I missed apparently, and thank you for bringing those to my attention. Forecaster71 says, will we be able to customize the path tiles? So the individual composites that make up the path, I'm assuming.
When it comes to reshuffling, which means if you want to say, okay, this segment should actually include the books from here, then I'm pretty sure, not sure if it's going to be first pass, but second pass, I'm pretty sure you will be able to select segments and reshuffle them on a segment basis instead of just reshuffling the whole path. How deep down that rabbit hole we are going to go, I cannot say as of today, because it also breaks down to the question, what is still an easy user flow? Is it easier to select one path segment and replace it with a different segment, or just take 2-3 books and place them on top of them, or whatever the other path is? We will see. So I would say maybe, but we will need more learning to really know if and how we want to do that.
Yeah, so there's two sort of lead-ons from that. For example, they're saying that the corner bookshelf wouldn't look so odd if the books weren't on top of it. If it's just
yes,
blank.
Of course.
Because then you could put the book props on top, and then that would look absolutely fine. So there we go. We have it does look better already. And then you can just manually place those books there. And then another one says, following on from that, is, for example, with the table, where you could select certain segments that don't have cutlery and certain segments that have cutlery. Again, I think that just kind of talks to your idea of being able to select sections and load up different sections.
Yes. Also, so I wasn't doing cutlery on the tables because I'm not sure why. Maybe that's how I was raised. But if you have a chair on the table, you need a cutlery in front of it. So I'm not sure if you want to have a table with chairs and not chairs. I don't know how you can mix those things up. We will see. And again, there's a lot of space for feedback. But generally speaking, I think having the opportunity to just draw long tables with the chairs next to it is already a big improvement, opposed to placing them all manually down.
Absolutely. Another question which, well, let's see. AK Writer asks, could the path tool also be used for quickly drawing a section of a great wall, like a city wall, sort of Troy style, so something very different?
Yes, there are walls, especially from Forgotten Adventures. They have wall segments. We're not going to release them right now because actually we believe that the learnings that we get from the paths tool are the perfect groundwork for what we're going to do with the new room walls rework. But we need to, like, step by step. I think we're going to go away where you can then customize your room walls in the same way that you can customize those paths, which also comes back to the question we had at the beginning, where you can then easily place single walls in a room as well. So this is coming.
Right. Fantastic. Well, I think I've got everyone's questions. If I haven't, we still have plenty of show to go. We're into that stage of the map drawing, are we? Adding in the blood and gore.
It's time to add blood and gore.
Killed in the great library next to the large reading table. Who did it, I wonder? We're launching a new thing. So here is the thing until you have to do the thing.
I know that I have to do the thing. I'm quite fast this time.
I'm going to do a sound effect.
No, I'm doing it.
Okay,
you can
go
do
for
it
it.
both.
Bingle, 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 bingle. Oh, God, that's even worse. All right, so I think I'm coming back here now.
Yes, we have the... Okay, so the segment was Map of the Month. Although
yes.
our footer still says sneak peeks and previews, that's fine. We can fix that. We want to have if we're doing a monthly mapping it out, we want to highlight artists that came to our attention, especially later down the road when we can actually visit the page of a creator and browse that. This is going to be really cool. We came across, for this month, we want to feature a creator called Battlemap. We came across his maps basically in our recent map streams, like not streams, but when you go to your dashboard, you always get presented recent maps. And there was a actually in our internal Discord, there was a big fuss when suddenly all those maps were pushed. Hey, did you see this one? Did you see that one? They're so amazing maps. And they are indeed. So our shout out for this month goes to Battlemap. If you want to look for his maps, just go to the public library, type at Battlemap, and you will find all the maps. The reason why we think they are amazing is because if we look at one example here, he or she, they have a really keen eye for color composition. The way that this map is created is really cool when it comes to color, when it comes to atmosphere, and when it comes to those details of making this for the players. I think a wow moment when this map is being revealed to the players and they go, oh shit, what's going to happen here? Why are there so many routes? Are they going to entangle us? Are we going to die? So have a look at this.
I like the use of height as well. There's lots of steps going up, going down, passageways that lead underneath and above.
I think it's a brilliant map. From what you can do with DungeonFog, it always blows my mind if I see what users are doing with it. And again, this is, as you said, it's the perspective worked into it, the lighting, all those neat little details that form a really cool sci-fi cyberpunk map, mixing actually assets from fantasy, from sci-fi, from cyberpunk into one brilliant map. So Battlemap, congratulations! You're doing really amazing work, and everyone on the team was blown away when they saw that. And you, dear community, if you want to see more of his work, her work, their work, then just search for Battlemap in the community, in the public library, and you will find it. And eventually, hopefully, Battlemap will have a great Foxtagram page that everyone can follow and see what new maps are out there.
Absolutely. And that you can go and clone this map because it's in the public library.
Of course, so you can go and clone this map.
It's yours.
There are several maps. Let me go back here so we can show it. There are several maps. I think a lot of them are more in the sci-fi or cyberpunk sphere. But as you can see, there are also taverns from fantasy, lava, rivers, very, very cyberpunkish labyrinth, and then bridges, caves. So there's a lot of stuff there. So go check it out. And yeah, I hope you like them. We like them a lot.
There you are. Till, just one last thing before we finish and wrap up this Battlemap update and mapping it out. The new asset pack dropped recently, which was in honor of the latest DungeonFog Battlemaps animation. And
Yes.
it's that animation that is actually going to bring us to a close this evening. What did we get in that new Battlemap? I haven't actually had a chance to see it yet.
I haven't. If you want me to open it, I can quickly open it. Let me go to my dashboard.
I know it was the wonderful
The Ogre Casino.
Ogre
Right, there you
Casino.
go. That will take a bit to load, which is fine. We got a lot of feedback from the latest trailer that we did, the community trailer from 2021, which was the swamp, the Ogre Swamp. And a lot of people asked, that's nice, but where do we get the Ogre Casino assets? And we said, well, doing specific Swamp Ogre Casino assets might be a little bit too much. But what if we do a fantasy casino, like in a fantasy-based setting? It's not the high-class elven super luxury casino, but it's the back alley Smuggler's Guild casino style assets. So you can run your own little casino games in a fantasy setting. And eventually the map is going to load, I hope. Then we're going to see what this is.
I think, are you still in the dev DungeonFog?
Oh my god, I'm still on the dev. Yeah, right. So that takes a lot
All
longer
right.
to load.
So,
then.
well, there we
There you
go.
go. There you
Speaking of, it heard us.
Yes, so here you go. So I tried to gobble together a little map here. Let's go in and see what we have. We have a casino-ish fountain. I actually used carpets from the Asia pack here. We have those signs that say casino here, which is a weird mix of wood planks and kind of glowing magic stuff that highlights that. Then we have different game tables, like a roulette table, and those weird kind of goblinoid one-armed bandit. How do you call them?
Slot machine.
Slot machines. We have some lockers where you can put your stuff. There is a very foggy poker table with a steam pipe here and a jacuzzi. I think
Gotta have a jacuzzi.
Exactly. Then we have some other games here, and of course the vault where all the winnings are being stored.
I like it.
Yeah, that has been released and is accessible to you. You can find it in our asset packs as part of the content subscription.
Fantastic. Right. Just a question on community map and map of the month. Do you only come across publicly available maps on map of the month, or are we also going to look at private ones?
No, honestly, so we're not going. We are never going to look at private maps from other users, because that would kind of intrude into their privacy.
Right.
And before we go into my private maps, I think it's much more interesting to highlight someone from the community, because if you want to see what maps I am doing, for that we have those Welcome to the Madness streams where I'm drawing a map while we're chatting and just I'm prepping my next game maps. And also there is going to be another Map Battle Madness event this year. It's not, the date's not fixed yet. It's going to be somewhere probably end of March, April, where the Lord God is going to challenge me for the title of the Fogmaster.
That's right. Someone will dethrone you! Sorry, I mean, yes, it's going to be so exciting to watch and to see it taking place. So watch out for that. Now, last question is from AK Writers saying, are there fog mist steam assets? I haven't stumbled across any. Or did you use the brush tool?
No. Yes. There are. Actually, unfortunately, I can't wait for the new asset library because then we can tag them differently. This one is called Smoke, and you can find it in the fire assets. There you can see it's called Smoke, and it is a great asset to use if you want to have something clouded, foggy. It's not called. There are fog assets too. Part of, I think, one of our achievement props, prop packs. Which actually will also find the way into the marketplace really soon. So if you've missed old achievements, they will be available in the marketplace soon. But this one specifically is called Smoke and is in the Fire asset pack.
There you are. All right. Fantastic. Till, we have definitely run over our planned time for this one, but I think it's been really exciting and really, really cool to see what's coming up. And I cannot wait for next month, where, if you didn't catch it at the beginning, we'll be doing a special broadcast from the very dungeon from which DungeonFog is derived in Vienna, and looking at how DungeonFog is actually used in Till's games. So
Yes,
that should be a lot of fun. And that is taking place on the last Monday of the month, not the last Tuesday. So watch out for that.
21st, I think.
Yes, correct. 21st. And yes, look out for that. Okay, so if you are interested in DEIOS, that's what we're talking about next. So I suggest you hang on to your hats. We'll be back.
What's got you down, Ogre?
It's my dungeon, Gobbler.
What's wrong with it?
It could be so much more, you know? With more stuff.
It can't be that bad. Let me have a look. No, you've got a nice swamp full of snakes and spicks. Ah, snakes and spikes. Very nice.
But, I mean, that's it. How am I supposed to attract adventurers with that?
2 words. DungeonFog.
Dungeon what?
DungeonFog.
For over 3 years, we have put all our love and determination into making DungeonFog the best Battlemap map-making tool out there. Thanks to you, our amazing community, Game Masters can pick from over 10,000 community-created and shared maps, and can turn them into their own epic dungeons to use and share. None of this would have been possible without you. Thank you. And may our tools always help you to create maps your players will never want to leave unexplored.
So, what do you think, Gobbler?
Well, it certainly is different.
And not yet. Make a noise. Make a noise again.
Wow.
Oh goodness! All right, well there we go. Those are sound effects. That you, yeah, we'll have to hire someone for sound effects still. Okay, so welcome to the DEIOS Mapping It Out portion of the stream, and this video, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you can catch the battle maps update as a separate video. Go and look for it on the channel. We're talking DEIOS, and we haven't had an update now for quite some time because it's the new year, and so we are certainly looking forward to this year, as many great things are on the cards. Till
Yes.
now, before we jump into what those great things are, if you have a question, remember to please put the word question in caps in front of your question so that I can see it. And if, as has been happening on tonight's stream, because it is a new style of stream that we're doing, I miss it, please feel free to ask it again, and I will hopefully, I beg your pardon, hopefully see it a second time and ask it to Till. And of course, our wonderful moderators are in the stream to answer all of your great questions, so keep them coming. Keep them coming. Now, Till, nearly 2 months since our last mapping it out, what has been going on?
Oh, so much. Okay, so, yes, we had our last stream, I think in November. End of November was our last mapping it out
That's
stream,
right.
because we knew that in September people will be on vacation or on holidays. Which means that we now had 2 months to develop stuff, finish stuff, move stuff forward, and I'm really proud to show what has happened today, because there is, I think there's a giant leap in terms of aesthetics and quality that has happened. So the good news first, blueprints. Finally, we have the fix that we've been waiting for from Noasis. So the blueprint is being finished up and tested at the moment. So there's going to be blueprints available really soon. But
We actually have a demo for you this evening, as well.
Yes, we're definitely going to look at the demo of that and other stuff, because the team hasn't been idle while we were waiting on the blueprint fix. No, we have been, and if you can flip the slide, I think we can have a little view on what has been going on. Again, if you've been watching the DungeonFog stream, then you know that those are progress bars that you're looking at. So the light blue means the closer it is to the top, the more it is finished. Blueprints, as we've just spoken about, the UI needs to be updated and tweaked here and there. We need to store the blueprint images somewhere. That is in the making and should be finished by the end of the week. And then it's basically just bug fixing and fine tuning to see if everything works as intended. And then we're done with blueprints. Now, we have been working on other things in the meantime, which are, I think, quite interesting to you. And one of them we're calling tectonics. So we have, we've been working on on a tectonic system for landmasses. We've basically thrown away what we did with landmasses beforehand, without throwing away landmasses per se, but the way we generate them, to finally bring us where we wanted landmasses to be when it comes to coastlines, when it comes to the foundation work for biomes and stuff like that. So tectonics is already a little bit about 50% finished. We need to update the UI, we need to do some code cleanup, bug fixing, probably performance testing and improvements. Then we can hand out the tectonics patch as well. Waves, what does that mean? We have also been reworking our coast, what did we call it previously? Shallow water effects around the coasts. We didn't like them. We knew that we wanted to rework them, and we found the perfect spot to do so over the course of this time frame that we're speaking. So they are also finished almost completely. We need code cleanup, bug fixing, and performance has already been checked, by the way. But there is one visual effect that we want to implement that I couldn't bring for today. And once we're happy with that, we will release the Waves tool. It's not a tool. It's the Waves aesthetic to you. It's an effect. And lastly, Andre has been working on the layers panel. It's not in a state that I can showcase today. I have brought a little screenshot of what it is looking from our UI mockups. So we're most likely going to tackle that in our next mapping it out, because by then it is most likely already finished and released. Generally speaking, the estimate that I have received from the dev team on all 4 of those things to be finished is within the next 14 days. So the next patch is coming within the next 14 days, most likely. Before I forget, there is another thing. I forgot that almost because I forgot to add it to your script, I think. We had a lot of requests of users or backers from our initial Kickstarter campaign who were gold, silver, or bronze backers, and they were saying, well, we understand that you've been delayed in 2022 with COVID and the re-roll of the first alpha. Are you still keeping us waiting for the access any longer? And the answer is no. In the next couple of days, you will receive a Kickstarter update. If you have been backing Project DEIOS at bronze, silver, or gold level, and you're still waiting to join Alpha, we're not going to let you wait until we have finished Alpha 2. We are going to open Alpha access to everyone as a thank you for your patience, and because now we're already getting in a state where more feedback is actually appreciated too from our side.
Well, that's fantastic news to hear. We're going to get so many more folk in. Do you anticipate that having any kind of ramifications on the current sort of strain of the software? I mean, it's locally based, isn't it?
It's locally. It's a desktop application, so it's not going to strain us. It might strain us because we get more feedback, but actually that's not a strain. That is something that we're looking forward to, because having your feedback is the most crucial thing that we need to improve. And as you are going to see today, your feedback has heavy impact because from the feedback that we've received over the ongoing alpha now, the tool that was ranked lowest from your satisfactory points was the landmass tool, and we have addressed that. So we're going to see what happens. So if you flip the switch, we might see some more slides, unless you want to ask some.
I've got some questions for you. Firstly, I think, I think they're relevant to ask now, because I think once we dive into it, because we're going to be diving into these tectonics, folks, it's going to blow your mind. When Till was describing them to me, I'm like, oh, and then we can do this, and then we can do that. And have you read this book? There's an amazing book called Supercontinent, and you can read that. And he's like, okay. So firstly, the question from Vasala Rasur, and the question is, when do you think we're going to get to Alpha 2?
In summer. I have a roadmap prepared for you so that you can see what our development schedule for this year is. We are hoping that I would say somewhere between early summer and end of summer this year, we will be in Alpha 2. We will be in city map development.
Super exciting. There we go. Another question from Lensman de Leoncourt says, will Keora be able to join an upcoming stream to give us an update on his progress on the 3,000 assets that are due to be implemented?
Of course. I think it would be great, especially now that the aesthetics of DEIOS have moved forward. It would be great to bring in Keora for one of the upcoming mapping it outs, and we talk about the progress of asset creation. Sure.
Fantastic. Possibly March, somewhere around there. I know there've been a lot of things with those assets. There's been lots of things going on in the back end that we haven't really seen and spoken about. So yes, perfect. Okay, lovely. And then last question, I think, is, well, it kind of leads us into tectonics. I think that's why it's important to ask it now. Will the random landmass feature be part of the tectonic update?
Yes, to some extent, yes, although probably not as you are expecting it, which doesn't mean that what you're expecting is ignored. It's just the first step into that direction, and we will see today what that means. But yeah, we're getting a lot closer to that already.
I see you're practicing your politician's speech. Yes, you're going to get it, but not what you think it is, and not how you think you're going to get it. But you definitely will get something.
I'm sorry.
All right, so let's jump into tectonics, which you're definitely going to get, because I absolutely
Probably.
love these. Shush. Right, tectonics. Look at that beautiful map. How long did it take you to make this map, Till?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Yes, we're going to talk about why it was so quick to do that, obviously in DEIOS. We're going to be looking at this map a little bit later on. But tectonics. Tectonics. What is this?
Okay, so first of all, we've completely changed the way that we create coastlines. We're not taking away from you that you can hand draw them yourself, but we have enhanced the tool in a way that you can define an area, and within that area, we are using Ilya, who's been the head behind this this whole transition process. He has been reading up on tons and tons of papers about tectonic simulations. And he found a very cool model that we're seeing here in the background. Where's my finger? There. That uses those splines to generate realistic coastlines based on something that is actually called a tectonic system. And if you go into the next slide, you will see, that was the previous one, right? You will see that there is an algorithm behind that kind of, I think the best way Ilya described it to me was from a volcanic generation part, where you have a mountain erupting and bleeding out, which actually creates that landmass. So all those cells are actually, we can identify them, which brings us to the tectonic part of that concept, that if you take a landmass and shift it into another landmass, we can identify those collapsing cells, and we can adjust them in a way that they might pile up or succumb to each other, so as if tectonic plates would hit each other. It also means that we can use this as part of a height map to identify higher and lower areas on your landmass, which means we can eventually pre-fill those landmasses with biomes. Yeah.
Next slide.
Next slide. So not all of that is going to happen within 2 weeks, of course. What we can do is within the next 2 weeks, we can fine tune this height map concept that we have and make it in a way that we can pre-color the landmass that you're drawing with different color schemes based on the height of the map that has been generated, in alignment with the color palettes that Keora is creating for that, so that you can then use that pre-colored landmass to decorate it. And once we work on the biome tools, we can then tie them to those specific areas, and we can then plug them in and say, okay, if you pre-generate a landmass, we already know where the forest biome or the mountain biome or the grassland biome should sit. So that's kind of the way that we're approaching this. So this is now a completely different topic.
Okay, so before we go to that topic, we've got some things here on this topic. So I think something that was also very important, Till, is, let's say, for example, we generate it, and this particular continent that we're designing, yes, it may have already originally started as a volcanic eruption, and so it would normally have that canonical kind of shape to it, but it also suffered from glacial action, which carved a giant shape out of that cone, and now we want it to be more of a U shape. Can we go in and manipulate that data?
Yes, you can. There are several different tools and approaches to that we are, again, slowly establishing. But for now, you can control the sea level to kind of. It's weird that you're controlling the sea level, because basically you're raising or sinking that landmass into the ocean. So you're not controlling the sea level, but you're controlling the distance between the landmass and the sea level, which will affect the way that those cells are being created. But Ilya has researched a lot on the different coastline types, like, for example, as you said, glacial coastlines and atolls and other stuffs like that, where you can basically then have presets to define how you want to reshape a specific coast area of the landmass.
That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Subby Gamer says, tectonics, are you guys going to have a definite number of tectonics or tectonic plates, such as 2 to 36, or will that be decided by the creator based on what I'm seeing?
You need to be careful if you think we're calling it tectonics because the way that it behaves, that those landmasses behave, are comparable to what you would expect if you have a tectonic system on the landmasses itself. There isn't really a tectonic plate system at the bottom of your kind of world map. It's basically the way that the landmass behaves when it collides with another landmass. Respectively, it's a way that our algorithm produces a landmass when you are randomly drawing this kind of tectonic landmass onto the water. So I wouldn't really. I knew it was a bit troublesome if we really call it tectonics or not. But I think the concept is quite easy to grasp if you think of landmasses as tectonic objects that can collide into each other based on those cell shades that we saw before. So I hope that answers your question.
I think that makes sense. Yes, if you are going to ask a question, please put the word question in caps in front of your question. If any of you are interested in plate tectonics, there's a fascinating book called Supercontinent. I cannot remember the name of the author right now. I feel ashamed for it, but it is an amazing book which talks about how we know all the things that we know about tectonic activities and all the weird and wonderful ways in which tectonic plates actually interact. Till tectonics, super cool. Now, another thing is layering.
Yes, exactly. So if we move forward to layering, again, this is on an internal part. It is quite finished or far in progress. But from a UI perspective, there's not much I can show today apart from the layout screens that we have. And I think the important part is for those of you who have been part of Alpha 1, the one from 2022, 2019, I can't remember, the one that we had to roll back. We made the big mistake that we said, oh, you're going to have a layer system that can break down to each and every asset in the list. Now, not only was that a heavy strain on your system resources, but also it was absolutely useless if you think about using a layering list to select one single asset. You're going to be much more precise if you take your mouse and click on that one single asset on the map. However, we want to introduce and we want to bring something to you that is comparable to layers, but I think is better described as organization groups. So what you can do to give you a rough, we're going to demonstrate it fairly soon. I think in the next mapping it out, we can have a thorough look at how it works and performs. But to give you a rough introduction of what it means is you can select stuff on the stage and you can group it together based on tags or based on your selection or based on similarities that those objects share. And you can create your own custom groups that you can then modify, like you can duplicate that or hide it or highlight it. So you're creating regions out of your selections. So you're grouping stuff together. We use an internal tag system to give you recommendations of how you would like to do that. So on the screen, I'm not sure if you can read it through because of streaming quality, but you can see that we automatically create groupings for all the trees, and then you can decollapse them and say, well, which trees, the conifer trees. We're not giving you every conifer, but we're giving you all the conifers that you can select at once. And if you want to break them down into your own separate group, like you would like to say this is the northern Sherwood Forest and it's the southern Sherwood Forest, then you can do that through your selection and define subdivisions of that yourself, which makes it fairly simple to control what is visible or what is selected on the map and how you want to interact with that. And again, from an internal standpoint, we're quite far in developing that. Unfortunately, there isn't really something I can show you yet, but we're going to tackle that in the next Mapping It Out.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Are there any more slides?
I don't know. Yes, I think the next one is the roadmap.
That's right. So,
Yes.
Till, we do have a demonstration of the
course.
new DEIOS, but I think let's do the roadmap first, and then we finish off with the demonstration.
Yes, I would love to.
Perfect. So let's look at our roadmap.
So in terms of goals, I've broken it down into quarters. So the first quarter is going to bring the blueprints, tectonics, waves, and layers. We've already talked about those things. They are within the next 14 days. They're done and delivered. Next thing we're going to tackle is finally export and copy and paste, which means that you can create that you can have a clipboard across maps where you can copy and paste stuff to the clipboard and onto a different map. And I'm sorry, I'm saying Andy, I meant Nikita is pushing hard on the M1 optimization. He really wants to do that. And hopefully by the end of this quarter, we then have authentication and the asset server in place, which makes it much easier for Keora to kind of distribute assets directly into the DEIOS application. Which again, I think if we can achieve that by the end of quarter one, that would be a great mapping it out to bring in Keora and talk about all the assets that he is currently hoarding to then distribute them into the software. Quarter two is our focus will be on biomes and rivers and roads, as well as UI cleanup and optimizations. And ideally, by the end of quarter two, we have finished world map development. Finished means to a state where you can create maps quite thoroughly and good looking. It does mean, however, that we know that there are other revision cycles coming later where we improve everything and where we refine the stuff based on your feedback. But in terms of having a palette of usable tools that create a great outcome, by the end of quarter two, we hopefully are there. Which means in quarter 3 and 4, we can then finally work on city maps and the Battlemap integration, as well as other stuff that has been on our list for quite some time, like the install wizard, code signation, world generation, there we have it, and general performance optimizations.
That's really cool. That's really, really, really cool. And hopefully we'll achieve that. But we'll be tracking that journey every month.
So yes, we will keep you updated. You will know where we are, and we will talk about progress and setbacks if we face any.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
AK Writer asks, will the two of you, that's Till and Guy, compete over making a DEIOS map like we did making the DungeonFog maps with Myri?
No, I don't think so, because I've already humiliated Guy once. I don't want to do that a second time.
Thanks for watching. The stream's over.
Well, maybe we will see. I mean, by the end of this summer, DEIOS is in a state where I could actually picture us competing over a world map.
You never know.
You're going to beat the shit out of me there, because I'm not a good world map creator. I've learned this through testing and developing, that I'm good at bad maps, but I'm not so good at world maps.
World maps. Well, we'll see. There's lots going on in world maps. Anyway, I think it's more about us collaborating on making worlds than competing on making worlds.
That. Why not?
Who knows?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Till, should we jump into the demo of the latest build of DungeonFog, which I've got my hands on?
Of course. Let's do it.
All right. You doing sound effects? I'm prepping for this next layout.
Okay.
Oh my god. Okay. And then I have to go here. Oh, wait, what have I done? No, wait, you gotta go, wait, there we go. All right, sorry, I knew there was something that I forgot to switch. I need to set up another one of those. So much stuff going on. All right, so this, you are now seeing on my direct screen. That is showing you the DEIOS layout. And here we can see a blueprint.
You have already added a blueprint.
That's right. So zooming in here, you can see this is a blueprint of a map that I made nearly 20, no, not 20 years ago, I lie. This is based off of a map that I made 20 years ago, redrew in, I think, Photoshop by mouse and hand. And then you took it into DEIOS. Now, this map that I drew here took me probably about an hour, I'd say, to draw. And I wouldn't say it's exactly pretty. It's functional, but it's not pretty. And then you took it in, and I'm going to change the opacity of this blueprint to reveal the actual map that you made.
Yes.
And I think that's stunning. And here, folks, if you haven't grasped it yet, I'm going to zoom in to get some detail here on this mountain range on my hand-drawn map. I'm getting some pixels, and that's it. But if I go to the DungeonFog version, I'm getting beautiful trees and grassland, and I could add in some more information here, and I could even zoom in even closer. So I think that's showing you really the power of DungeonFog straight away. Now we're seeing a couple of effects in play here. Till, where do we start?
Yes, I think let's start with the simple things first. Let's have a look at what the blueprint, because we've been promising the blueprint tool. We've been waiting on the blueprint tool to be ready. So let's tackle the blueprint tool first. In your upper menu bar, you have a thing called View that will have different options for your viewports. Right now, it contains the blueprint window. And when you click on that, you will get the blueprint window, and that allows you to upload blueprints into your blueprint library. It basically, you click on Add Blueprint, you upload one, and it gets added to that. Right now, this is where we can't hand it out yet. They aren't stored anywhere. We are going to store them, and we're going to populate them through your Documents folder. So there's going to be a place that we can actually read those blueprints from. So there you have a place where you can organize blueprints, and by clicking on them, you can actually activate or deactivate them and bring more than just one blueprint in, which I think is quite powerful, because if you have different blueprints from different sources, you can add them and mesh them together. And then you have some little controls there where you can hide all those blueprints, show them all, lock them so you're not touching them anymore. And when they are unlocked, you can always select them through your regular selection tool on the stage, which gives you then options for manipulating those blueprints, like moving it around or changing the opacity, and also you can
scale them with Control Shift.
You can use Control Shift to scale them, or you can use I think Shift mouse wheel to rotate
Shift
them.
rotates, yeah.
So I think that's quite powerful when it comes to combining all those things on a map and using them as blueprints to retrace them and recreate them. Keep in mind, however, there are two things that I need to mention. First of all, we are storing the position of the blueprints for you on the map. If you start to share that map, we're not handing over the blueprint, so thus we're also not handing over the position. A map that is being shared with others will not contain the blueprints, because we need to do that to prevent some piracy kind of workarounds where you import maps from others, then share the map, and you basically have done nothing to the map but took the image from another artist. However, there is going to be eventually a tool where you can change the water texture to a full-sized image, so you can draw upon. Those maps will not be shareable though. So that's the way how we're approaching this. So this is blueprints. I think it's quite straightforward. Everyone will understand what to do. So let's look at, if you zoom in, let's tackle the next thing, because you will notice that we now have a completely different way of rendering the shallow water areas, which means that we have those waves, those coastal waves that we're drawing around the map. This is almost finished. We're going to give you, right now there are no control options when you select that, but you will get options to modify the color and the intensity and stuff like that with those waves. As well as the one thing that we haven't made for this build today is we are looking at ways to make this look more hand-drawn by adding some filters and effects to that, to those waves, so that they are looking like pencil drawn and intersected, and not as cleanly following the coastline all around. But generally speaking, we're quite happy. If you have keen eyes, you might notice that there is a lightly turquoise glow to the outer areas of the coastline. This is also something we want to improve in the next couple of days. We have a shallow water effect that needs to be adjusted and fine-tuned so that the water color gets lighter the closer it gets to the coastline.
Super cool.
Yes.
All right.
I think visually that is already a big improvement to what we had before. But now let's look at the tectonic system as we have it in place. I think you've already seen it while Guy was creating that island. You have two brush modes. The first one is the one that we already know. It's just the first button here. There you go. And that is just a regular freehand drawing. However, if you switch to the second one, now we're taking the shape that you're creating and we're rendering a landmass into that. Again, this needs some fine-tuning because the outcome might be completely different from what you've been expecting. So that is something that we fine-tune. But when you look at the way that those landmasses look, I think this is a major improvement to what we had before when it came to organically looking coastlines. And this hasn't even been with the manipulation of the sea level. So Guy, if you would take that and put the sea level to 1. It's right now, it's going to be a slider for you guys because right now it's a value between 0 and 1. And you create something, you will see that there's more water. Did you confirm the one with the tab?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Always take it to 0.
No, I think 0 makes more landmass. But you can also switch to the lowest button, which is the filled landmass or empty. If you switch to that one and you now draw another one, you will see that it should actually create more like an atoll. Yes, so it's creating a lot more water bodies. It's a lot of fine-tuning from our side to go in and adjust those values or preset those values for you so that the outcome is interesting when it comes to landmass creation. But we can watch Guy as he plays around with the values. There you go.
That's at 0.2.
Exactly.
0.2.
Yeah.
Very different. Very, very different. And I think very exciting as well.
Yes.
And of course you can always go in and
yes. So the interesting part is you can add to it, and you can, which makes it even more interesting, is you can subtract from it. So you can use your add and subtract modes to actually
Mm-hmm.
create interesting areas that again, I feel like look very, very much more organic than they did before.
Absolutely.
I'm always
Here
saying
I'm
organic,
subtracting.
which is, I'm pretty sure, not the perfect word for landmasses. What would be the perfect word? If they're not organic, they're
Well, natural, I
geologically
guess, or-
correct.
yeah, geologically correct. So here, for example, I think this is a great way. If we go back to Blob Island,
Yeah.
a favourite of many map makers, and I've got subtract on set at 1 kilometre at the moment, the maximum you can, and I subtract from that, suddenly we get these very interesting erosion-like shapes happening, as if this Blob Island has been attacked by something. So lots of possibilities out of that. And if you look at it, those all effectively are just the same shape, just tweaked and adjusted slightly using those values. So very, very exciting. While we're on the subject, Peter Kelly asks, will we be able to indicate the number of lines for shallow water?
Yes. Yes, we already have that as it's an internal value at the moment, but we can hand that to you. So you can define the number of lines, how much they bleed out or not.
Fantastic. Till, was there something else that you wanted to show us? I think there is more, isn't there?
It's getting late here. Let me think. Did we have what else did we have? We were talking about
If you're wondering why are we so in disarray, we wrote the script and then we changed the slide presentations and didn't remember to update the script. So we kind of went, oh well, there was a script. That's it. We're done. I think one of the important things to talk about is, if you were not here at the beginning of the show, next month's show will be taking place on Monday rather than on Tuesday, as we will be doing a live show from Vienna. I'll be going over and joining the team in Vienna, and we'll be looking at how DungeonFog is used in context within Till's role-playing dungeon. I'm very excited to see that, and we'll see how it all works, comes together,
So
as well
it's
as doing
Monday the
mapping it out.
21st.
The 21st of March.
February.
February.
Yeah.
February. I'm already in March. Oh dear. Let's see if we've got any more questions.
Yeah, and just quickly because I got my list here now. We have updated the way that when you would brush assets onto those landmasses, you select single or all landmasses. So if you go to a prop here and you probably pick some trees, that would be, go to single landmass. Okay, and pick some trees or whatever you would like to.
You want a selection?
Yes.
I'm holding down the shift key, by the
That's
way. For those of
perfect.
you watching.
So you're now building an array of cacti. If you go to your settings and you change the amount of cacti to, I don't know,
Let's say
15.
10, 15.
I don't know.
Right.
It's whatever you would like.
15. And the scatter.
Yes, you have to raise the scatter a little bit so that they're offset
Let's
from each
say
other.
2. Yeah.
And that's it. So
Let's say 5. Now, it is envisaged that these will be sliders, or do you think these will
no,
remain
this
as
is
numbers?
going to be. This is going to remain fields, but you should be able to use the mouse wheel on the field to scroll up and down the value.
Ah, lovely.
So
there we go. I'm
when you
placing them.
brush them feverishly over this, you will see that they will never leave the island, and they're actually not bleeding into the shallow water anymore. What we had
Fantastic.
before. So I think that is a good improvement. The other thing is very, very hard to catch. You're going to see it better when you have the new build in your hands. We've changed the way that this inner white glow is working, so that it blends better with the textures. And I think that's it. We had some other improvements and bug fixes, and now we're cleaning everything up. And we're finishing the tasks that we want to finish. So within the next, I think it's most likely not going to be, well, it's definitely not going to be end of January because we're already out of January. So it's one of the first 2 weeks of February when the patch hits the auto updater, and then you will get access to all of that what we have been showing you today, plus hopefully a first implementation of the latest. And we're going to review all of that then in the next Mapping It Out. And by that time, we should be already working on export, so we might have a sneak peek at the export tool as well.
Fingers crossed. That would be a great development, I'm sure. In which case, folks... wait a minute. There are some last-minute questions. We love last-minute questions. Subby Gamer says, will there be a radius indicator for the area of effect, I'm assuming, for the prop placement? So at the moment it says 5 kilometers spacing or scatter. We kind of have to move the mouse over the map. Would we see a brush shape almost?
That explains to where it could scatter within that radius. That makes sense. I think that makes sense. We should add that. I agree.
I like that idea. I think that's really cool. Then a repeated question from Lensman, which apparently I missed. Can you change the scale of the map after tracing it from a blueprint?
Yes.
Well, yes, you can.
That's going to be interesting. I haven't tested it, but you should be able to. By the way, we've changed the selection, the way that we draw selections, because those outlines, those glowing outlines, were terrible.
Red is so much better.
Yes, there is going to... I talked to Nikita today about that. He proposed that we're going to add a little selection pattern over it, so that if you're zoomed in, you know that you've currently selected the landmass.
So we know we can move it around. Some of those are not paired by the looks of things.
You're destroying my map.
Well, we've got the undo working now.
Trying undo in a test build. Okay.
Yes.
Well, the question was, can you modify it in terms of, can you select one of those landmass, whatever, the landmass, and scale it up and down? Like, because I remember there was another thing that we fixed. So you can scale, you can rotate, which is not looking great at the moment, because if you rotate it, it will rotate the props as well.
Also, it looks like it's scaling the props too.
Yes, of course it does. It's scaling the whole object. But the interesting part is if you go to one of your creation landmasses over there.
The many mutants.
The many mutants. Zoom in on one of them.
I choose you, Pikachu. Yeah.
Right. And now move it closer to another one. So two things. First of all, when you move it over, there's a first attempt of, if you release, you will see what happens. Well, you probably have to deselect it. You have a first understanding of how merging those landmasses would work. It's going to be implemented much more thoroughly in the next couple of weeks. However, what I wanted to show you is if you put them very close to each other, you will see that they have the same outline strength. So previously, when you scale the map, when you scale the landmass, you accidentally also scaled the outline. We fixed that now. So if you take that and make it bigger or smaller, whatever, you will see that the outlines are at the same strength. So that was also an improvement that we tackled, where we said, okay.
I like how the water emerges.
Yes, it's really cool. I think having those wave effects intersecting each other is really nice.
And another question, is the export function you mentioned just an image export or a way to share DEIOS files? We start with the image export at the moment, because you can't, in the current DEIOS Alpha, which is a terrible shame, you can't export the map properly. When you click on export at the moment, you're just exporting the whole canvas as one image, opposed to really generating a nice rendered export of your viewport. So we're going to tackle that one first. Eventually, there will be a way that you can export your maps, for example, for sharing them through our DungeonFog community hub. Another question from Peter Kelly. Will land masses be able to abut each other, east versus west part of the continent? Will they be able to sit
again?
next to each other? It says here, will land masses be able to abutting each other, east versus west part of the continent? I suspect... I don't know how to interpret that. Perhaps Peter Kelly, if you're still watching, can you give us some clarity on that question?
Yes, please. If you're talking about shifting it out to the east,
so that it'll come back to the other side of the map.
Come back to the west. That was in our initial build, but we haven't implemented that yet because we're not sure if that is actually helpful or if that shouldn't be something like a presetting that you can adjust. Because right now it might be more helpful to just duplicate that. And duplication is not part yet, but copy pasting is coming, and make that manually. Not sure if that was your question.
It makes sense to my mind.
Yeah.
Finally, Lord God says, would it be possible to indicate the radius in units on the brush in the editor window? The circle shows where it will affect, but not the world scale, like hover 5 kilometer on the brush. So the brush...
We did actually, if you zoom in once more, we have unified a lot of scaling stuff. So if you select the color brush, for example, you can, I think it should be now in kilometers. I can't read it on...
Yes, it's 25 kilometers at the moment.
So we've tried to unify everything into kilometers. I think what you're saying is, should we relay that information on the tip, on the brush tip itself, so that you see that you're currently affecting an area of 25 kilometers, for example, while you're drawing that? I think it would be an easy thing to do, to relay that information onto the radius here, so that you always know what sizes are you currently working on. I like the idea. I'm going to talk with the devs about how we can do that. Probably something that you can toggle. By the way, toggling, can you go to the preferences window? I think we've added some stuff in, I can't remember. That's DEIOS, the DEIOS menu icon, and then preferences. Let's see, did we add anything here? That's the black and white, the outline version only. What's that? That's just the language pick, right? Okay, so probably it's not part of that build. I do remember that. Yes, I do remember that you should be able to adjust the grid color, but I think that's already released in the previous build. It might. Yes, there you go.
Yes, grid color.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yes, you've killed it. Okay, that's the glory of test builds, and I think that's perfect scenario.
It's perfect timing. Now you can see what I'm listening to. That was a fantastic composer, by the way. If you're looking for some music, Jessica Curry. Folks, Jessica Curry. All right, so... Right, Till, we've got to the end of the show, and we've actually got to the end of our time. So there you are. Folks, let us know, what do you think about this new show? Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. If you want to say, if you want to let us know what you think, well, do so. You can join us on Discord. I know the moderators have been sharing links throughout the evening in chat. Join the team on Discord, continue the conversation there. Till, anything from your side before we wrap up?
I really enjoy the new format, by the way. I just wanted to give that feedback myself. I think it gives us a lot more stage for talking about stuff, and also see those relations between what's happening in the company, what's happening on the Battlemap editor, what's happening on DEIOS. I enjoyed the time that we spent talking about those things. I can't wait to get your feedback. I can't wait to hear what you think about the new format, and I can't wait to hear what you think about the new patch that is coming. As always, if you haven't joined our Discord yet, join Discord. We're chatting about those things in Discord quite a lot.
Share your maps.
Share your maps.
Who knows? You might
Yes,
be on the
exactly.
next community map share. So there you are. Folks, we'll see you again next month on the Monday, the 23rd. I think we said that was the date.
21st,
And until
yes.
then, 21st, on the 21st, Monday the 21st. We'll see you Monday the 21st. And until then, from both of us, the very happiest of map making. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.